Yes. Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. Let me welcome you to this another episode of the Saudichress Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to you all. And let me again apologize for the few minutes late. We are 5 minutes behind schedule. And so trying to get everything in order. Just want to say, um, as you know, our guest for tonight's show is you know, Mr. Patrick Malcolm, the president of the St. Elizabeth Football FA, Sir Malcolm. So I just want to say to you, we are just still waiting on him. He's not here as yet, but suspect that he will be in a short while. So tonight is basically football, but I will entertain whatever sports in discipline, whatever one of these issues, whatever sport event you want to look at. And there are so many sport events that went on, especially with football over the weekend. We know that track and field is still going on. Cricket is in the air. Yes. Watch few IPL games. I don't know how many of you following the IPL games in recent time, but I must say to you that I'm very impressed with one of our old West Indian cricketer. Shipman, what's his name again? Um, I soon get back to that. That name just slipped me. Maya, yes. Maya, that guy left-handed batsman is taking the IPL by storm, and hopefully that he will continue. And with this experience, will push him further to do better and to do well for our own West Indies team. Rally around the West Indies. That's what it says, and we want to continue to do that. All right. So again, people, as you come in, just make sure that you hit the like button and participate as well. Let we hear from you. And if you want to continue to extend your views, whether through the chat or, of course, through WhatsApp call. And for you to call is 876 501 6625. So that's 876 501 6625. So we're still waiting on our guest, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that he will be here soon. But as we are saying, this is the Saudichress Show that we continue to deliver very good content and carry across information that you want to hear, information that you'd have never known before. And so, what we want to do is to continue to do that. And we continue for you to assist us, help us with the growth of the Saudichress channel. Because on a Monday and Friday, we bring you sports and entertainment. And of course, on a Wednesday, we look more on the educational content. All right. I might still end up feeling a bit worse. So if you hear it in my voice, people, I'm trying to negotiate that. And we try to get through that. So still not seeing or hearing Mr. Malcolm just yet. But let us just look at reviews of, the weekend more so. Let us look at the EPL. We also want to look at the JPL, the Jamaica Premier League. All right. So over the weekend, as you know, the EPL, I don't know if I want to say it has turned, you know, turned again. Or should I say it has given us another way to look at the championship. Arsenal. Ladies and gentlemen, can Arsenal hold on to the lead? They are 4 points ahead of City, and City also has a game in hand. Wow. Remember, people, I don't want to change my thought, And from early February, I think, or around about January, I have actually predicted or given Arsenal the championship. But I also, I was also being mindful. I'm always mindful of the burst of speed Yes, the last draft from this City team, who, when it comes on to the latter part of the league, they tend to find, you know, a very, very interesting and also hard running. It's like a resurgence of City. Even when they start poorly, people, the last 12 games of the season, City tend to put a lot of pressure. Whoever is behind them or those who are ahead. Just a few seasons ago, from 12 points back, technically it was 9. They had run past Liverpool with a flash. And so I have always been mindful. But when I look at the game and how Arsenal has been playing throughout the league, it would be irresponsible of me as a neutral fan. And when I say a neutral fan, a neutral fan because I'm not an Arsenal fan. Yes, I'm not a City fan. But when you look at it, the way Arsenal have been playing, the way they go about grinding results, yes, the intensity that they played with, no other team in the league was so consistent. However, it has reached crunch time, yes, and I must say to you, my own view right now, there are some levels of panic in the Arsenal camp. Yes, again, I've listened to the coach, Mikel Arteta, and he said that there's no panic. He also said that there's no fatigue. But people, when you look at it, for playing 26, 27, 28 games in, consistently running hard, playing good football, there comes a time when you'll drop off the pace. And that's what happened over the past 2 games. I also believe that they had a very, what would I say now, tough games the last 2 games, playing against teams who wanted something out of the game. Seems like they're playing for relegation. West Ham, as you know, is at the bottom of the table. A win for West Ham just the other day just propelled them from the bottom. But they have to continue. Liverpool want to be in the top four. Want to be. Don't think that is possible though. But those two teams would have given Arsenal a run. The fact that Arsenal led both matches by 2 goals to nil in the first half would have given the Arsenal faithful, the fans, a whole lot to cheer about. Yes? Why? Because they are winning. But I always say, until the final whistle has blown, the match is not finished. And a lot of people are here now. I hear some very Gunners fans, some very faithful Gunners fans start to question the coach's intent. But you see, one of the thing about football, people must understand, especially in the EPL, a lot of us don't look deeply into the EPL, we just look at the teams. But you must understand or you must take into consideration that, trust me, not every day the coach will get it right. You must also understand that there's another coach in the game. There's another team in the game. I don't think there's any team who started the game to lose. And if it is prayer, every team is praying to win. If it is luck, then then there are some teams who may get more luck than the others. I don't know how the luck thing will share, but luck is in football, right? So, relating to Arsenal over the past 2 games, City, though, on the other hand, has shown what they are made of. Yes, a very, very commanding game over Leicester City on Saturday. 3-1 City. That would have put Arsenal under some amount of pressure, people. Yes, that would have put Arsenal under some amount of pressure. But we who criticize other teams, and I'm telling you, people, we do so because many times, yes, it's not the team that we support, you know.
Why me call him on WhatsApp? Me call him straight. No answer, so.
All right. So it is with that respect, people, I believe the pressure went on Arsenal. All right. So talking about City, let us just zoom in and the man they call Haaland. Yes, Haaland. On Saturday, Haaland now has tied with Mo Salah for the most Premier League goals in a 38 game season. So he's now on 32 goals. He's on 32 goals with what? 9 matches to go or 10 matches to go? I think, yes. So it is about 9 matches to go. Nine? No, I got this one wrong. Sorry about it. 38, right? So 31 matches, round 31 played on Saturday. But I think they have a game in hand. So eight or 9 games to go for Haaland to score another goal. But what is interesting, he's just 2 goals away from equaling Alan Shearer and Ashley Cole's 34 goal games. Those are the highest ever goals to be scored in a Premier League season. And please do remember that in those days it was 42 games that each team played. So this man Haaland, based on his scoring, yes, goals per match, goals per minute, he's a machine. No surprising to me though. No surprising to me. But also, what interesting in having Haaland scoring these goals, the machinery that City has would has just work right for Haaland. There's a major factor in the machinery. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne. Major factor. That is level of assist and commanding of the games. Very, very good. Very good indeed. So that is some things that you have to take into consideration. All right, hello, people. Come on, man. Say a thing or a few are so in the chat. Let me hear from you. Introduce yourself, and so I can acknowledge you. All right, still waiting on Mr. Patrick Malcolm, president of the Football FA there, out there in St. Elizabeth. All right. So yes, people, hit the like button as you come. We just continue just to look at the review of the EPL over the weekend. All right, into today. So again, just to congratulate Haaland, on another on his milestone of the EPL, and I think Haaland will score 40 goals. It 8 games. Ah, trust me, I would love to see him score 40 goals. So 8 or 9 games for Haaland. 8 games. 8 games. Can he get a goal per match? Very interesting, people. So that's one of the things. I want to zoom in though on the Arsenal game, Arsenal West Ham game. That was yesterday, right? Arsenal, a week before yesterday, had suffered their, what would I say, probably their most embarrassing results. The fact that they drew 2-2 with Liverpool. Not to say Liverpool is not a good team, But Liverpool is rubbish this year, almost to garbage. The standard that they have set over the past couple of years, that is where I'm coming from. And how they are playing, they're not playing much football. I mean, trust me. But that showed a real shocker. And for them to come back 1 week after people, lead 2-0 again, and to draw the game. You know what is also funny? The game against Liverpool, they could have lost, you know. The game about West Ham too, they could have lost 3-2. Could have. In the latter part of the game, maybe one of the last chance of the game, a clear header from Jamaican Michael Antonio hit the bar and go over. That one should have scored. You can imagine if West Ham had clinched that. Good, good. Testing, testing. One, two, three, Mr. RR. Big up yourself. Yes, yes. DL. Long time I hear. Good evening, Mr. Sadi. Greetings from Maryland. Bless up yourself, DL. Long time with a talk. Let me hear it, man. All right. So, RR again. Blessings in the building. Man, you all day. Win or lose. DL. Yeah, man. Man, you going on very good, DL. Not a problem. Man, you is there in third position. 3 points clear of fourth, and I believe that they will finish in the top four easily, easily. But again, again, that's just my thought. They have to play for it, you know, just like every other team. So not bad, man. You're doing very good, doing very good. What to say about your big goal scorer Harry Maguire DL? Hey, I don't want you to come up on the show with this miraculous thing that you want to see happening. You know. LFC one of the spot, third and fourth. No, 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 RR. You must be joking. RR, you must be joking. That sounds like a miracle. That sounds like a miracle, RR. You mean Liverpool FC getting third and fourth? No way. No. And I'm gonna say this, people. And remember now, you know, it's my opinion. And everybody have a right to change their opinion, don't it? Every single one of us have a right to change their opinion on certain things. Yes, it doesn't matter where they heard it, but you have a right. All right. Um. Oh boy. Hold on. I am Mr. trying to call me here. Hold on a second. Let me get a call from Mr. Malcolm. Sir Malcolm. Yes, sir. From the link I sent you. What is it saying? All right. I'm gonna send it again. Hold on. To that. All right. No problem. Let me hang up and do it right away. All right. So that's Mr. Malcolm. He said he's trying to log on. So just give me a few minutes, people. My apology. Let me try and help him out right here. Um, just give me a few. So yes, you can continue to pour in your views on the EPL and whatever you want there, the chat, while I try to assist Mr. Malcolm. All right. Alright, so I send it. Hopefully this one will work this time. Let me just tell him that it has done. Yes, sir. I sent it to the other one. So try it for me again. To this phone. Alright, good, good. Yes, thank you. Alright, as I was saying that, man, listen, I'm gonna say something which is my feeling and my own view and my opinion, personally. And again, people don't come out and try to hit me hard if I change my mind or my action. But what I say to you, if Liverpool reach top four, I think they probably have to suspend me as a Liverpool fan for the next season. Yes, but trust me, I don't see it possible. It will take more than a miracle for Liverpool to reach top four. Worst case third? No, sir, not at all. But let's see what happens. Let's really see what happens. All right. Hey, I'm telling you, gentlemen, very good. All right. So, yes, RR, you say Arsenal choke right now. Ah, boy, I tell you, I don't know, boss. I'm not gonna say that. They still have 4 points a lead. Yes, City have a game in hand, but we can't call that. We can't give City 3 points from the game in hand. They have to play and win that game. So I think Arsenal is still in the driver's seat. If Arsenal win all their games, they win the league. Again, if City do, they win the league. So right now, it is important your coaching say everything is in their hand. Yes, but they have to pray for some luck, where other team might not, you know, do what they're supposed to do. And I'm sure as experience and nerves getting the better of them. Ah boy, inexperience. Well, yes, and I think they are a bit tired. The squad is very shallow, It's a very shallow squad Arsenal have, and when it comes to this part of the competition, it's very important to see how best they can hold on. And let's see what happened though. Where is that one, man? Okay, he's right here. It's Cha. Where is name from? Okay, so Mr. Malcolm.
Indeed.
Yes, sir. Welcome. Realize your video is not on though.
Could you repeat?
I'm saying your video is turned off.
Yes.
Okay.
The internet seemed to
Oh,
be very unstable. So the safest thing to do sometimes is to probably turn it off.
okay. Hold on let me see if I can check something on my side too, where I'm actually getting a little feedback. Yes. Check one. All right. Seems like it's okay now. People, if you're hearing a feedback, let me know. I think I heard one prior to this. All right. Dan Lewis, bless up yourself. Yes, sir. Let me welcome you to the Saudichress Show, one that we discuss sports and entertainment on a Monday and Friday, and on a Wednesday we do educational content. It's a pleasure having you here tonight, sir. Welcome again.
Thank you very much. And let me say good evening to your listeners, your streamers, your entire grouping from wherever they are in the world.
Okay, thank you. They are in and out of the stream. My viewers tend to they don't stay and when they don't see the guests, so they were here and they come in and out. But I know they will joining us. They will join us later. Yes, man. It's a pleasure having you here again, and hopefully this will not be your first time because we know this football in Jamaica is moving very fast. There are some information that every single one of us would like to hear as we move along. But tonight we really want to zoom in on, football, the status of football in St. Elizabeth. And of course, all of us want to know sometimes what's happening right across the country as well. And so, yes, sir, as customary, I'd like to ask you to just give us a brief profile of Mr. Malcolm. Who is Mr. Patrick Malcolm?
Ah, um, Patrick Malcolm is the principal at Carisbrook Primary School, that is in northwestern St. Elizabeth, and the president of the St. Elizabeth FA.
Okay, people hear that. So, have you ever played the game before competitively?
I tell you what, interestingly, um, I probably played the game when I was at Stetson. I was trying to play in grade 7 or 8. That's as best. But I really did play for Roadstar, which is a community team in Middle Quarter, St. Elizabeth. It is
Hmm.
now called the New Holland FC.
Okay, so
Um,
that means.
interestingly too, the minute I realized I couldn't play anymore, I had just completed a match at New Holland, and I met in a car accident
Oh my
that
God,
left
sorry
me
to hear that,
unconscious
man.
for 11 days. Yeah, so after coming out of that unconscious state after 11 days, I realized that I couldn't even play the game anymore. So I decided that whatever the situation is, I'd try to service the game. So I ended up being a referee, and from referee into the management of the sport.
Okay, good, good, good. So tell me, sir, as an educator myself, how do you manage um both roles as principal and also, to lead the federation or the association in St. Elizabeth?
Um, See, management, teaching provides you with the tools that you can use to kind of manage the situation that confronts you as we do in football. Sometimes hard, but you have a staff around you in the football. You have vice presidents and secretaries, and so they also help to make life a little bit easy.
You know, this is a question maybe I should ask it later, but this is very intriguing. These are two positions, two institution, if you want to call it, that you are managing. And from my whole understanding, these are two institutions that most times are, what would I say now, under budget. The financial aspect to move these institutions in a very positive and in a right way. The financial support is very low. How do you manage? I mean, that aspect of it.
Um, I listened to one the former, or is it the coach of Heidel, and somebody asked him a question, and he said, "God is good," and he said it probably once or twice or 3 times in a few seconds, and I can say the same thing. God
Okay.
is good. Teaching provides you with some sort of knowledge and um, resource to deal with some of these things, but football is in St. Elizabeth is really suffering. It's like somebody holding it at the throat and squeezing it to death. It's financially um, frightening, just to see with what we have to use to do what we have to do. We're a little better in school, but as it relates to football, God knows sometimes how we survive. Your personal cash, your good friends who will give you a loan, and you do that because you're concerned about the development of the sport, and we know the benefits to the people around.
I can just imagine, sir, because thinking about St. Elizabeth and football, for a long while, I have not seen or probably heard of any team coming out of St. Elizabeth playing in the Premier League, the highest level in Jamaica. Am I right to say that? Can you enlighten us on that part of it?
The last time St. Elizabeth played national football at that level was 79, 80. But I want to say this, and I try to tell everybody, don't judge St. Elizabeth by that. Because if it's playing football, then fine, we can play football. But playing at the Premier League takes a little more than just playing football. Mr. Siaga once told me it took $13 million to run his Tivoli unit for a year. I'll never forget that. And that was a long while ago. So let us now face it. We in St. Elizabeth have developed this sport over time. And what we have done is like send the players to the other teams that have the necessary resources um, to really fund that team. If you look at, and I keep saying, if you look at Montego Bay United, they have more than one St. Elizabeth player. And these are players that we would have passed through our under 13 or under 15 program. Arnett Gardens is the same. Harbor View is the same. Cavaliers has St. Elizabeth players. So they're all over the place. The problem is we just need to find like-minded personnel who can use the platform that we provide to put some resource into the system and to move the players up. I'll also tell you that for the last 3 years, St. Elizabeth had teams that were in the semi-finals of the competition to go to the Premier League. So we had St. Best that did it for 2 years in a row. We had Treasure Beach last year, and this year we had Goshen right on the edge of tier two. So we've been knocking at the door, and I can assure you that with some continued work and some support, we'll get there in short order.
Okay, that sounds good. It seems like you're on a path for development, more so for the showpiece of football.
And what the St. Elizabeth Football Association does, from January to June every year, we have a little unit of under 13, under 15 footballers that work out at the Santa Cruz Community Center. And the years when Juicy Patties sponsored the competition, that was our area for giving the youths the opportunity to express themselves. Um, Now the JFF has an under 15 coming up, and surely St. Elizabeth will be participating in that.
I said to you that based on what you mentioned of the players moving from St. Elizabeth to other parishes or other teams, but one will say there's something actually lacking in terms of a serious structure for you to harness those talent. Why can't we really keep them? You said that it is best to send them off to clubs or so that are doing, better. But what happened? Why can't St. Elizabeth really put across a serious structure, geared towards having a team playing in the top tier? Because I understand what you're saying, but this is where the further aspect of Jamaicans or across the world would look and say, but there's nothing going in football because the JPL would have been the one that advertised football in the country.
And I would also view that as convergent thinking. I want to look a little wider. But let
Mhm.
me go back to the point you made. Or why can't we put a structure in place? That is what Treasure Beach has done now. That
Okay.
is what Saint Best is doing. That is what Black River did for a long while, and Tafari Lions. And we've had other units that have put them together over time. Interestingly, as I said, we've been right on the edge and we haven't stepped over into the Premier League. But give us some time because we're putting our thing together. And let me tell you this, we're not just we're not just concerned about kicking the football. We are developing the whole product. So we have developed not just the footballers that are scattered throughout the country, but we've also developed officials. We've also developed managers. Um, Melvin Reed is presently one of our FIFA assistant referees. We have Princess Brown. Before that, we had Dwight Royal, Antoinette Williams, Kedley Powell, and the list goes on and on. We have developed not just the kicking of the football, but we've developed the officiating side of the football too.
I love that. And speaking of the officials or the officiating, I recognize that, and I hope my research has been correct or the information gathered, that St. Elizabeth, the parish of St. Elizabeth or the FA would have been the only parish to host or to hold two D-license courses in the parish since that has been executed in the country. What would have been your insight? Why give rise for you to ask to get another coaching D license certificate going on?
I've always said there are about 154,000 people in St. Elizabeth. And if we have that number, then we need as many coaches as we possibly can to develop the youth from the grassroots level straight up to the top. Um, I don't know if we're the one of the only parish to do it. I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm big on education. And if we can educate or the people who deliver the information to the youngsters and give them the best and latest information, then I'm sure that there'll be good players coming up. And so we are also after asking the JFF to give us a C license in St. Elizabeth in short order.
Okay, but let me ask you, how many clubs, registered clubs, do you with the whole registration with JFF and FIFA? How many registered club do you have in St. Elizabeth?
All right. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we took the decision that when we looked at it, we had more than 30 clubs, and we thought we didn't have the resources or the quality to supply 30 odd clubs. So we decided after a long meeting with the clubs that there has to be some movement in that number going down. And so now we have 10 clubs at Major League, 10 clubs at Division 1, and we are just registering our Division 2 now. Of course, we have Treasure Beach at the Tier 2 level.
Okay,
So that would make us 21 clubs so far.
all right, sounds good. And I'm sure that those 21 clubs are represented well in their D license at least.
Very well. We insist that all these clubs must have quality coaches, qualified coaches, and those who don't have must have people in the coaching course going on now.
Okay. So, sir, this second um, course, you based on registration of coaches, you are sure that all the coaches in St. Elizabeth will now have a D license. And when I say all, those who are in the scheme of things.
Very well.
Okay, nice. Now, sir, schoolboy football for many years has been the, what would I say now? In my view, maybe the flag bearer of Jamaican football. It brought more support or supporters to football in Jamaica in recent time. What has been the what did I say now? The forefront. Which school? I know that States is the big school in St. Elizabeth. But how much does the schoolboy football put across? How much does the FA gain from the whole highlight of schoolboy football in the parish?
I don't know if we gain much from the highlight of schoolboy football in the parish, but I can tell you one thing that States by itself seem to be smarter than many other of the other schools. Because you know what they do? They come to sit down and watch the Saturday morning training that goes on at the community center. And from then, they would probably target from an early stage those players that would be good for them. I have seen other teams trying it too. Interestingly, when we put on our youth competition or under 17 or under 15 or under 13,
Mhm.
we've also given the schools that latitude to participate in it. And we have had teams like Lakovia and Magati, along with Stex, participating in it.
Okay, very good. Sir, saying that to say, what I believe, if we can incorporate and, parishes, and I'm going to say, my own view, you have to educate us. You have to let us know what is really happening in St. Elizabeth. But if we can rally around schoolboy football and to use that to propel our youth football in the schools or in the countries, what I want to say, sometimes I believe if we have a school attached or a club would have, what would I say, maybe have a school close to them. Maybe that would have been one way they could help to develop their own football structure because I know it's expensive. And the schoolboy competitions, the under 12, the under 15 or under 16 is a very good way, to get our youngsters out there.
And along with that, it would be remiss of me if I didn't say that corporate Jamaica has a role to play, that the government has a role to play in the development and the balancing of sports across the country. Because when you look at it, St. Elizabeth has a plethora of fields all over the country. But what is the state of the playing surface? Black River Community Center, a large expanse of land with a decent football field, fencing, but no stands, no lights. And if corporate Jamaica jumps on board, if the St. Elizabeth Parish Council and everybody else jumps on board and make Black River Community Center a model, then it would work wonders for St. Elizabeth and the football. Then go around to Appleton. They have a decent feel around there. I
Mm.
will say not much on that. But let's come back to Goshen, right at the roadside. We have a decent feel, but that's all. And we scream and we beg and we plead and we write, and we're just not getting the support that we expect. I mean, if you go South St. Elizabeth, you go down to Treasure Beach, and they have a decent structure down there. Needs a little bit of help in terms of lighting and stuff, but I hope they'll get that sorted out, and I expect them to get that sorted out in due time. But Black River, Lacovia, Santa Cruz Community Center, oh no, that is something else. The Santa Cruz Community Center, where we call it the Mecca of football in St. Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Um, the last person outside of the present occupants of the community center now was the St. Elizabeth Football Association. Interestingly, now it is most difficult for us to get a space at the community center because there are other people who occupy. And then the field is not being kept to any quality. And so we're struggling in that regard. So it would be good that the authorities take a look at St. Elizabeth and help us to develop the sport. Thank God for steps on the surface and the willingness of the principal and his team to support the St. Elizabeth FA by allowing us to use their venue when we can. But outside of that, I mean, the struggle is real.
But sir, wouldn't that be one of your portfolio, your role, or probably one of your responsibility to get persons to act. Isn't that one of the football association's role to get at least one of those fields to standards?
Um, I'll tell you something. There is just one parish association in this country that I know of that has its own field and housing. That's Westmoreland. And that I think is a model which the government could easily use around the country to develop the other parishes. Now, it is our responsibility to develop, but can we really and truly, can we? Does the St. Elizabeth FA that has a Division 1 budget of 2.5 million and only have sponsorship of 750,000, can they develop a field? I don't think so.
No, with that
So
money
we
you
would now,
can't.
right. So we now have to depend upon on government, the authorities to help us along.
What role did the JFF play in assisting in that
Uh,
regard?
the JFF has its own mandate, and they, the JFF, might will channel funds to the parishes, sometimes annually, but that is not funding that can be used in that regard. Because
Yes.
let me just say that that funding is very, very small. The truth is, the development of these playing surfaces is um gonna have to be led by the government and the agency. Let me tell you something. Holland Estate has a stretch of land for about a mile and a half.
Man.
Absolutely nothing is on that stretch of land except cows that roam the place, and so be it. That could be the place where we look to put a multi-purpose stadium. I mean, if you go down to Trinidad, they'll have 4 or 5, 10,000 seater stadium. Put a put a 5,000 seater stadium on the Holland lands, multi-purpose, so we can account for netball and football and cricket and put a running track. Oh, by the way, with all our exploits, we have none of those synthetic tracks in St. Elizabeth.
You see,
That's a little, that's a
one
little
of the
bit
things is
outside.
if you notice where the tracks are in Jamaica, if you notice where the tracks are in Jamaica, those are not just tracks because the government per se really put them there. Are the J3? The fact is, we need people who are really interested. Those persons who have passed through the system, passed through the parish as representations, and are doing well. Those are the persons that need to come back and are common to give back, not necessarily from their own pockets. But without that sort of thing, look at what Usain Bolt did. I mean, it may not be Usain Bolt, but because of Usain Bolt, what was placed at the UA Training Center. When you look at what's happening now, the Calabars, the JCs, the KC, all of those top schools in track and field, and it's not just done from the coffers of the school. But that is track and field, and I do understand. But I asked the question about the JFF assistant in the development of football. There are questions out there that there are monies that could be used or could be assist. Not everybody, I understand, will be able to get that assistant at the same time. But what proposal have you put to JFF? One, to the parish council, and three, to the member of parliament in St. Elizabeth. And I say this to say, if you look at the fields in and around Jamaica or who have those mini stadiums, most of those clubs are run, we probably could say run by their member of parliaments.
And let me tell you something. This is what I said to the JFF. So the JFF will give each parish, let us say for argument's sake, $1 this year. And I've said to the JFF, that would be $13. Now take that $13, divide it into 2 or 3 or probably 4. Give it to those 4 parishes. Next year, you give to another 4 parishes or another 3 parishes for the sake of infrastructural development. And over time, I can assure you, each parish will have its own home, and possibly with the support of the government now, playing surfaces that we can be happy about.
That sound good. That seems like you could put a really, you probably put it and call it what would you say now, a 5-year plan in place for development. Because as you mentioned, all 13, that little money will not do anything. But if you could use 3 each year or 4, but are the clubs though? I mean, you said you mentioned to JFF. Did you put that into a proposal to JFF?
I have done that, and I've asked the JFF to let us ventilate the issue with probably a subcommittee and and work on it. And I think the JFF is quite receptive to that sort of a thing. So probably in short order, you might see that bearing fruit.
Okay. On the matter of the JFF, how long have you been president of the St. Elizabeth FA?
Uh, I think I'm on I since 2009.
It's 2009. It's a pretty good time.
Yes.
What would you say, sir, is your legacy right now? Your legacy as the president of the St. Elizabeth FA?
I'm not gone yet,
Okay.
so my legacy is still being made. But let me just tell you, when I came to St. Elizabeth, the St. Elizabeth FA, the turnout of young talent from under 13 to under 15 to the
Mhm.
schools in the parish and outside would have been something we're happy about. On top of that, and I will say, we have in my era the largest number of international referees and assistants that has ever been in St. Elizabeth. And to add to that, we have been playing quality football at a high level, such that we have been in the semifinals of the playoffs and tier 2 competition over the last 3 4 years.
Okay, you have the Major League final a few weeks ago, am I right?
Yes,
Who won that Major League final?
St. Bess.
St. Beth. So they'll be moving up to the tier 2 this year.
Yes.
In your view, what is the chances of the teams in the tier 2 this year coming from St. Elizabeth? What's your
Uh,
prediction of them, or what is your take on them making it through the Premier League for next year?
they say cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties. Well,
You
I
think
say
football is
football. I'll tell you something. I tell you something. Treasure Beach played the football of their lifetime last year
mhm,
and got to the semifinals. Lost the first leg 1-0 after traveling from St. Elizabeth to go over to St. Anne to play. And they lost the semifinal, first semifinal 1-0. Secondly, semifinal, a few days before, we had probably 7 or 8 players that seemed to have flu-like symptoms, and COVID was high on the agenda.
right.
They had asked the JFF for 10 days as the doctor had suggested. I think they got a few days, surely not 10. And in the first half of the competition, that second semi-final, St. Elizabeth was leading 2 goals to nil. So the type of football we're playing, I'm particularly happy and I'm expecting that our teams, once they continue to train and with a bit of luck, they're going to do well.
Well, so I was told that all the parish presidents are some members of the, what would I say now, some committee of the JFF, so to speak, or executive. Is that so?
Um, I can't say, I'm not sure if all of the parish presidents are on some committee, but I know they are all directors at this moment.
So you're a director. So you're a director at the JFF.
Yes.
Okay. In your humble opinion, do you think the JFF can do more to assist the parishes?
I really don't want to speak for the JFF. I, being the president of St. Elizabeth, I really want to keep my thing locked into St. Elizabeth. But if the JFF can do more, which I think they should, they are going to have to do more because the parish presidents are always going to press the JFF to do what they can for them.
Mr. Malcolm, I do understand, but we are actually in an election year now. And this is the time when different offices or different directors probably will be, you know, asking or proposing for different things in an effort or to bid to ensure that their person or their personnel would have gotten certain seats. Just saying, that's the politics of it. But saying that to say, looking at how some parishes are run, because it is the view that there are parishes who benefited more than some from the JFF. I mean, you're a director, you may not want to come into that level of politics now, but it is the reality.
Um, I don't know if that's a reality in terms of benefiting more. I like what FIFA does.
Mm.
Everybody, one man to a vote, and that's how it is spread. So if the JFF has $100 per share, then the expectation is that every the $100 is divided equally for all.
So you don't think that there are some aspect of sponsorship that goes to some parishes would have been driven by the JFF?
I don't know that. But if the JFF can do that, I would always ask the JFF, please put some sponsorship in St. Elizabeth because we need it more than anybody else.
You
Let
need
me
to
just
ask them.
say that we have 2 children and one is doing extremely well. That's not the one you spend the resources on, you know. The one that is not doing well, that's the one you spend the resources on.
you
And
know,
unfortunately, football is not like that. Everybody is supposed to get equal share.
and that's one of the things that may some parishes may not agree with your proposal in doing 3 parishes per year. But I saying this to say, sir, because um I understand, and when you look at some parishes, you really wonder. And I'm gonna take out Kingston and Saint Andrew because there's a lot more what would I say, corporate entities in those areas would have able to push resources into football. But as it relates to rural parishes, though, I realize that I think that there are some rural parishes that are being neglected.
I think so too. The day Appleton, Ray and Neville walked out of St. Elizabeth football, um, that's when we started to struggle with sponsorship. Because when we had Ray and Neville, they really did an excellent job in maintaining their presence in the parish.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that is not so now. thanks to um, um, the MP slowly from the Santa Cruz region who has jumped in to sponsor the Division One competition. And I tell you something, it's the SDF that provided us with some funding that we
Mhm.
could have used for a major league competition. But over the years, we've had people like J.C. Hutchinson who had sponsored football in St. Elizabeth, and the other MP Green, Floyd Green, from the other side, who has made some contribution and sponsorship to St. Elizabeth football. So the MPs have been doing some bit of support in the parish, but I mean, we really need the rest of St. Elizabeth, the corporate entities, to jump around and help us develop the sport.
One of the things that I realized that the MPs does is that they place a lot of emphasis on corner league football, and because it's corner league, it more lend itself to the divisions or the constituencies. No, it needs more than just that, in my estimation. I've been a part of that too. But I think it needs more than just that to get the football to develop in the country.
I think so. And that is why we have reached out to the MPs in the parish of St. Elizabeth and we've
Yes.
indicated to them that even though we think that that's a part of the development, it is going to need more. And they've decided that they are going to have to take a look at it. And probably that is one of the reasons we've had MP slowly sponsoring the Division One competition.
Nice.
I failed to mention this. Some years ago, we had St. Elizabeth Co-op Credit Union
Mhm.
sponsoring Division One in St. Elizabeth. And I can tell you that that was the biggest competition we had, bigger than our
Wow.
major league competition.
Wow.
The crowd just seemed come out and they really, St. Elizabeth Co-op Credit Union really did an excellent job in sponsoring. Here we go again. We've lost St. Elizabeth Co-op Credit Union,
Mhm.
and but the hope is that the entity that has taken them over will come back to football in St. Elizabeth.
Sir, one of the things that I notice in our football in Jamaica is that not many people are owning the football. Not many. And I say this to say, for example, the clubs that we have, and let me limit it to St. Elizabeth, the ego of such ownership, I believe, is a deterrent for the development of these clubs or for the growth of these clubs. Because, I mean, how many persons would be willing, Sir Malcolm, to, let me not use sell, because maybe sell is a strong term, to partnership with an outside person? Let's say somebody is from the CONCACAF or the Caribbean or even Europe in that light. And I use this to say, even though probably Mount Pleasant is a different kettle of fish. But I have learned, sir, that other persons from Europe would like to invest in some of our local clubs, but persons are not willing to give up that name. They want to own their clubs and so on. Could that be a proposal for clubs in St. Elizabeth for you to get some level of assistance?
We have gotten rid of that, you know.
Wow,
Some time ago,
interesting.
everybody just wanted my club on the corner. I think we've gotten rid of that. And what we're doing is asking our clubs not just to be registered with SDC, but to make themselves registered with the company through the
Of
Companies
Jamaica.
Act in Jamaica. And the clubs are slowly doing that. So we have gone past the stage where people just want to be locked down in a corner with their own one man band in terms of a club. And by the way, that can't survive in St. Elizabeth, you know, because the football requires that a structure be set up around it for it to survive.
That is so good. That's so good. So I don't want to keep you late, and I know you have work tomorrow and so on. But there are two other interesting points that we want to get into. Elections in your parish. In your parish, do you have persons who will be running against you for presidency of the anything like that?
I don't know. I haven't heard it yet.
You
But
haven't
but
heard
I
it yet.
can tell you one thing. Saint Elizabeth is one of those parishes that you're going to always have people coming up because everybody, well, a large group of people think that, they have the know-how to really take care of St. Elizabeth football. And I have
Mhm.
no issue with that.
Okay,
If I can take St. Elizabeth football to X point and somebody else takes it to another point, then that's okay.
that sounds easy, but when it comes on to the whole matter of elections, we know how it is. You have been doing or being the president for a number of years, and you want to see your goals and objectives being met. So maybe I don't know how much longer you want to see your goals or your objectives being met as the president. But there's some food of thought right now in Jamaica, especially in and around um, clubs, viable clubs, that persons are saying that some of these parish presidents are serving too long. And because of that, it
Yeah,
lends
but
to the sort of, and I'm going to use a term that I heard one person mention, a sort of corruption in the JFF.
let me just say that it's a democratic process.
Hmm.
And I also was alive and well when we had a prime minister for 18 years. So it's a democratic process. So those who want to participate in the process get involved and participate. And and I don't think people should just take a brush and say since somebody has been in it for 10 or 20 years or 40 years, then hey, there's going to be a level of corruption. I'm not subscribing to that.
I think the corruption that they're talking about is in the election process, where because you have been there for some time, the president of the day maybe, will find a way to get you on his or her side
I don't know
as
that.
a long-standing president.
Every year since I've been elected, every
Mhm.
election I've been challenged, every
Oh,
single one.
that's nice.
So
That
we
is
have a democratic process in St. Elizabeth. And I have a friend by the name of Gore. He tells me every time he's going to challenge me at the next election.
and he
So
did.
you're always gonna have he hasn't done it yet. He's waiting
Oh,
for the
oh,
next
oh,
one.
oh. I want. I would just tell you to give him a message that you need to step aside now.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, all right, big up yourself, go wherever you are. But sir, good. I mean, if you had a contest, that's not a problem. That shows that the democratic process is working in St. Elizabeth. But by extension, though, the JFF, there are so many negative news per se surrounds the JFF in recent time. Um, Coming to this year's election, there's a change in terms of delegates. What's your take on the latest proposal? The number of
Um,
delegates now compared to
well,
a few years back.
more chances for those persons who want to get into the GFF to be in. There are far more votes, so there are more people who can get themselves involved in it. FIFA had indicated that they thought that our slate was of people who chose the president was far too small, and we've gone through a rigorous process of fixing it. So we've got far more people now with an opportunity to cast a ballot.
So do you think the JFF is in the right direction now?
In terms of its governance structure, we're
Yeah,
getting
governance.
there slowly.
You're getting slowly. It seems like you're comfortable with the present executives, right?
That's a different question. Um,
It
the
is.
executive do their part, and I can tell you one thing: whilst I, as an individual, doesn't have a vote, if Saint Elizabeth and I say the 154,000 people say tomorrow morning you're to vote against the present president of the JFF, they can guarantee that that will be so because the vote is not mine; it's a parish vote.
But let me ask you though, and I'm gonna ask you, would you be supporting Michael Ricketts for the next election? Put away that the person as an individual.
But then I don't have a vote. That's the point I'm making to you. So
Your
when
advice.
we last time last time we met as a group in Santa Cruz and we say, what is the direction where we going? And they say, now you're going to stick with my cricket. When it's election time, it's the same process that's going to happen again. We're going to come together as a group and we're going to decide and they'll tell me how to vote.
What's the feeling?
And I can't vote any other way.
What's the feeling? What are you hearing on the grounds in Saint Elizabeth as it relates to going forward? I know it's not serious time yet, but I know certain things must have
Right.
been coming to the ear.
There's not much that is coming to me now. But I figure as it gets closer to the election time, then we'll hear more and then we'll have more to think of and decide on.
Okay. So that means representation now. It's all about representing the people who you lead, not just for yourselves. Well, that sounds good. And we also know, and my own view, even though you are saying that, sir, I am I am of the view, many of us Jamaicans are of the view that even though it is the people who speak and you represent them or act on their behalf, there will be persons who will actually try to, what would I say now, influence the other persons or influence the people in your parish. For example, you, Mr. Malcolm, I know you are influenced. You might love my rickets or you don't like my rickets, so you can influence the people to call the direction to which you want them to. Do you think that is possible?
And and that is always going to be possible. But let me
Mm.
just say to you that I have an executive in St. Elizabeth that plays with the rules. And if the public says this is the way to go, we better dare not differ.
So I'm not saying I do understand that, but I am not confident. I'm not confident that all the parish presidents will basically allow those persons to make a decision. Yes, they will, but after such influence. I'm telling you the truth. That's how I feel about this present scenario now. Because, so one of the things is that in every situation, people find a way to go around it. And I'm saying that because there are so many loud speakers out there right now that are giving their own views and they are loud. They are not saying it under their breath. It is in the media, it's everywhere about which direction they think the JFF should go.
And it was the same thing a few years ago. And I remember being asked a similar question.
Mhm.
And I just said to those people who are outside, you have a say. But if you stay in your corner and climb up on a wall and shout, you're not getting anywhere. Get yourself involved in the parish association so you can influence the direction of the vote. So those who are on the outside and screaming, come on inside because we can make the change from inside, however you want it.
So, Mr. Malcolm, are you saying that even though you have to listen to your collective people, your view will not be expressed?
my view will always be expressed in accordance with what is happening. I'm supposed to lead, and I'm going to do that. However, the public has a say, the 21 clubs and the others involved have a say, and their say is going to be majority rules.
But you will give your say. You will let
Most
them
naturally,
know. You will let them know which direction or how you feel.
I will always let them know how I feel.
Okay. All
And I
right.
can tell you one thing. When Mike Ricketts was president in Clarendon, and I was president in St. Elizabeth, we developed a good relation because we're from the same confed.
Yes.
But I'd be the first man to jump up and tell the president when he falls out of line. I'd be the first man to tell the president that, no, no, I don't think so. This is my opinion. Or I'd be the first man to say, hold on, St. Elizabeth wants us to go this way.
Have you ever done that before?
I've, I've done that all the time. I've
How did he
done that
respond?
all the time.
How did he
Um,
respond?
and surprisingly, the president of the JFF is one of those persons who will always look at what you put forward and say, well, probably I agree with you. Um, a few days ago, we had a meeting, a board meeting, and I met him outside because I was early. And we had some discussion, and I made it clear to him how I felt about certain things. And he is willing and able to say, all right, cool, let me look at it. Probably we could look at it this way, that sort of a stuff.
Sir, did you support Michael Ricketts in the last election? Or the last two?
No, no, I didn't support Michael Ricketts. Because remember now, it's not my vote, you know. It's a St. Elizabeth FA's vote. And
You
they
rep-
said that we are
you rep-
going with Michael Ricketts.
you represented Saint Elizabeth, so I'm asking you if you did.
Right. So St. Elizabeth said, go and support Michael Ricketts the last time.
Okay. Fair. You know, based on what's happening, it's a little politicking right now, Mr. Malcolm. Mr. Ricketts is in the news so many times, not for the good reason or for reasons that we all would have loved. But there's a shadow, I would say, surround Michael Ricketts now. Not so much as president, but Michael Ricketts himself. Do you have any fear that, based on certain things, that FIFA might just step in and ask him to step down?
I don't know the principles used by FIFA in that regard. But if that is what FIFA wants to do, I mean, I can't do anything about it. You know, it's just quite unfortunate that this shadow, as you say, has been elongated more than ever. Um,
Mhm.
but I think my cricket should be judged on the works of my cricket in terms of football, and that is how we should do it.
But sir, if that is the case, if you want to judge my crickets on the work of football, then you would lost a lot of votes.
Probably, probably.
Bec- because there are so many things that I've seen happening, and I'm going to look at it. For example, there are some recurrent issues in Jamaican football. Every time a team should travel, there's always a problem.
You know what I
Who
want to
sh-
tell you,
whose responsibilities those are those?
and this is what I want to tell you.
Mm.
Um, what we've been doing is doing things backwards. You know, the only thing they tell me that you dig from top down is a grave, and probably we should stop the graves. So those who are responsible for the foul up must be held and dealt with. So it shouldn't be the principal at Carisbrook Primary who should be dealing with a child who turns up late at school. That should be somebody else's responsibility. And similarly, if there's a follow up with the teams traveling and we've heard it, then let us find out who follow up and deal with that person.
But we know in former years it was said that it is the general secretary's role.
I like that. In former years.
Mm. But I haven't heard anything recently, no.
Well, I will leave that. I am
No,
not getting into that
you need
part,
to help me here.
except to
Because,
say,
because,
as a responsible Jamaican, I
mm,
am saying if there's a foul up, we are to find out who did the foul up and let that person take responsibility.
as a director, Mr. Malcolm, as a
Yes.
director, you don't know who is responsible for that follow up right now?
After what we keep doing generally is
Mm.
move things around. That is not how it works in the JFF, you know. So in the JFF you have people responsible for uniforms. You have people responsible for flight arrangements. You have people responsible for managers, and the list goes on. So what we
Yes,
want to do is isolate the problem and deal with it.
that is true. And I'm not into the business of getting rid of, who we believe may, responsible. The thing I'm saying is that, as I mentioned, I heard that, those things are in the role or responsibility of the Gensec.
Yes.
Now, for whatever reason, the Gensec has been, I don't know what to call it. It is pushed aside, fired. I'm not sure. So I'm not gonna put that press. But the Gensec, a Gensec head was rolled because of those things. One of. A new Gensec has been installed through process, of course. But we have seen these issues continue. One of the most recent one, sir, and leave the Gensec or the president out of it, but naturally, as a Jamaican talking football, where the Reggae Girls have gone to England for 2 practice games, and the assistant coaches were not able to travel because they don't have a British visa.
And I was told that the JFF did everything possible and even got government help in dealing with this. But if you don't have a visa, then you just don't have a visa.
So this is the question I'm asking now. I'm happy that you are here and you are very knowledgeable of these things. I believe if you employ Kevin as a coach, I believe it's a national team. Visas or police records, all of those things must be at the forefront. So if say I don't have a British visa, but I am a coach, I think from then the JFF with that coach or coaches should start to find themselves to get them because you don't know when. Maybe because England you'll only get 6 months, but the fact that these things were long-term planning, and I'm sure if somebody come and tell me says just last month or last week the practice match plan, then something gone wrong. It's all about some little quick fix business, no long-term planning. But if that is the case, sir, I believe, and maybe the reason why they never get it is because they start to go at it too late.
I don't know when this matter was initiated. However, I can tell you one thing that normally the JFF will get its team and staff on board as it relates to all the moves that have to be made to get visas. I've seen it happen over and over.
So yes, I figured that it, but I'm just saying the timing. So that is the we have a problem with the JFF. The timing how they go about getting or putting certain things in place.
I'll just tell you one thing that I heard, which I didn't know of before Saturday, and that
Yeah.
is I don't think British visas are done in Jamaica anymore. Are you aware
You
of
know,
that?
it's not done in Jamaica anymore.
I don't think so.
It's been for a while now. But you do the applications here.
And everything would have to go overseas, sort it
Right.
out, and then come back.
Mhm. So that's why I'm saying the timing of it, for example, you do the application online and you drop it off somewhere in Kingston, right? And you'd have waited. You also do a little mini interview and then it has gone wherever to get it sorted out. So these things takes time, sir, and that's why I'm saying the late thing. And listen, I don't think that the British High Command or whoever should have been pushing themselves around to help people who delinquent are late. So that's
Um,
where the problem is.
well, and I can't speak definitively on timing in this regard, but all I can say is that normally the JFF would get its people there and get the thing sorted out in due time.
You know, it seems like if the coaches do it themselves, it probably would have worked out faster.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell
But
you one thing that the JFF would normally have the thing sorted out in good order. But
okay,
this is not something we've heard of since lately, you know. We
exactly.
haven't heard of visa issues since lately, you know, because the JFF has a handle on that, I think. And they've been doing an extremely good job over the period in ensuring that players get visas and are sorted out on time.
So you know, as long as I can remember, since following that the JFF and these football issues, almost every time a team should travel, there are visa issues.
Ooh,
Every time.
can't, can't recall.
Yes, man.
I
Trust me.
know.
And
This one,
almost
this
every
one,
single time. And that's one of the reasons I said, you know, there's something I believe is late. And if people, for example, if we are scouting persons from overseas to play, these things should have been at the forefront. Yes. And you know, we should know that this person needs a Jamaican passport. So we start work on that. We need that this person need a visa to travel to certain countries because these are the plans that the JFF have to travel to Europe and so on. These are little things that I believe that in, you know, as soon as I get to those little things, we need to execute quickly on them.
well, I know the JFF has reviewed its plans over and over, so I don't think they're gonna have much issue with visas. I don't think so.
All right, I hope so. Because right now, sir, we are on a very good move. We have a very good chance of making it to the next World Cup. What say you?
I think so. I think so. But let me tell you something. You know, everybody expects us to qualify for the World Cup every time it comes around.
Yes.
We are expected to qualify for the under 13s, the under 15s, the under 17s. We're expected to qualify. But here's my question. Do we all, and I say all, put in the work so that qualification becomes easier as we go? For that to for us to have a yes on that, we're going to have to start a quick plan of fixing these surfaces we have around the country, which the JFF can't fix for sure. They don't have the necessary resources to fix it. Probably we could ask some of these big companies that do roads and heavy equipment. Probably what we could suggest is that part of your give back is to fix a field in St. Elizabeth. make this one a quality field, stuff like that. If we're going to qualify constantly for the World Cup, we're going to have to put far more resources into our football. Our coaches have to be qualified, so we have to send them overseas at great regularity to do courses. Um, the players have to be participating in competitions for longer periods of the year. We just have to put a
Mhm.
whole lot more into it.
You see, even though we are so much high on this agenda of going to the World Cup, we were not we didn't qualify for the last World Cup. The three top teams won't be playing the qualifier, but they will be facing the very same teams that we have faced the last time too, who were unable to defeat. You see,
Um,
so on that flip side, sir, it's not an easy part as always see it. Just because we get rid of US, Mexico, and Canada,
uh,
but we still have the El Salvadors, we still have the Costa Rica, we still have the Honduras, we still have those the Panamas who always give us trouble. So I'm
so
saying I am hoping that the JFF is willing to invest far more than what they have done over the past 5 years if we want to see the Reggae Boys in the World Cup.
and I say yes, the JFF must invest far more, but I also say that the rest of us as Jamaicans must also come to the table and start to invest.
More so, yes.
Invest in our football.
So one of the things I will tell you, doing, sir, and you probably I know you believe this too because you understand it. If the JFF cannot motivate or even reach out to corporate Jamaica, that will be a problem. So hopefully, the way the JFF is being running, corporate Jamaica is satisfied and is willing to put their little much in such a program. But what I am saying, and I've spoken to a few persons who love football, who contribute to football, they are unsatisfied with how the Jamaica do things. They don't want to get involved in this sort of management or mismanagement, if you want to call it. But then again, we need much more than this. You may cannot answer to that, but that is the
And,
reality that some people face.
and this is where I deviate a little
Hmm.
because the fact that I disagree with how something is being run
Yes,
cannot mean that I'm going to stay away from it in such a way that it affects an entire nation. It cannot be. So if I disagree with how it is being run, I'm going to find a way to have discussions and dialogue and to change it. But the fact that you stay away doesn't mean it is going to change. And who is suffering, by the way? The little boy from the bushes of middle quarters that would have done well in a competition, he's the one who is going to suffer.
Mr. Malcolm, remember too, the reality of it, which is so you're right, but the reality of it, when Saudichress decide to invest in the JFF or Jamaican football, Saudichress is expecting returns
I agree.
one way or the next. And so if there's no return, they're gonna look at it. They don't, sir. Look here, as I'm saying, many of our corporate entities, yes, they love the country, they love Jamaica, but they are looking at their business side of it first. And if I don't get returns on my business, I can't help you down in St. Elizabeth.
And I agree with that.
So that's one of the
But
things that is shadowing many corporate entities. You
and
know,
I'm hoping that corporate entities who are uncomfortable with the direction and angle of football will come on the inside because there's always space and let us have a discussion as to how the thing should be structured, how the thing should be run so that it benefits everybody.
I really think so. Really and truly. Sir, it's really a very good hour and a half we have started. And I'm sure that we have gotten a lot of information out there. The viewers and listeners will be, and those who will join us and watch this podcast, tomorrow and so on, would be enticing. But before you go, what would you say to the corporate entities in St. Elizabeth now?
The benefits of football suggest that nobody can sit on the fence, because sitting on the fence will only make life worse for us in St. Elizabeth. Come to St. Elizabeth, partner with the Football Association. Let us work through the rough patches and help to develop the beautiful game in the parish.
By extension, Jamaica.
Very well.
Mr. Patrick Malcolm, thank you very much for joining us. This has been the Saudichress Show, and I'm sure that your presence and your information would have had value to the Saudichress Show. Thank you very much for stepping. Thank you very much. And I echo your sentiments. I wish you well down there in St. Elizabeth. I like that parish when I travel to St. Elizabeth for your food, your fruits, but more so, we want to enjoy the football as well. And again, all the best to you, sir. And I am open again anytime. If there's anything that you want to send across to Jamaica through this medium, the Saudi Crest YouTube channel is open and we'll continue to make that link.
Thank you very much. I just want to say on the 19th, few days from now, we go to Treasure Beach for a double header in our Division 1 competition. We encourage the public to come out and be a part of it. Thank you.
So that is Wednesday coming?
Wednesday, yes.
Sir, could you send me a flyer? You have any
I
flyer?
will, and I will, and I'll send you a fixture too.
Yeah, man, please do and let me echo it on this channel as we go along. All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And have a very good night, sir. And thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. So, people, that's Mr. Patrick Malcolm was here with us and he had brought to us, very needed information. We now know what is happening down there in St. Elizabeth. And for those of you who are abroad, and support the St. Elizabeth football, I know that you support it. You know so much of the breadbasket football. So you can reach out to Mr. Patrick Malcolm for your assistant. He needs it. St. Elizabeth needs it. And so we continue to ask of that. Again, people, this is the Saudichress Show. This is where we leave you tonight. And this for another episode. But I say, join me this Wednesday where we talk education. We'll have a very interesting guest on Wednesday. No one else. Somebody who comes from this same parish as well, St. Elizabeth. And Pearlie, our Granny Pearlie, grandson. So his Aunt Pearlie grandson will be here gracing us on Wednesday night. Thank you very much for joining. And as you go, please like before you leave as we continue to do our best. People, thank you very much. And this is where I say to you goodbye.